Hey, hey, hey! Happy Monday, y'all. You caught me dancing, right? Welcome to another Monday Live with Dr. Nicole Roberts Jones. A time I connect with you every Monday, 7 p.m. EST, to share with you biblical principles while aligning biblical principles with your entrepreneurial journey. So, my husband and I were having this conversation last night. He's like, "Is that a Bible study?" Well, I always like to say it's part Bible study, part business strategy, right? And so you have to know that the first thing I do before I come on these lives is I pray for the 15 minutes before I come on. So I got the prayer covered before we start. Hey, Carol. And yes, this is a new series. So those of you that come in, say hello, whether you're here live or you come back and watch the replay. I'm always going to ask you to tell me hello, tell me where you're watching from. And as I share, I'm here for you. So I want to know if you have aha moments, if I'm stepping on your toes, if this is good to you and for you. All right. So, yes, again, tonight I'm starting a new series. And let me tell you, I'm always praying and asking God, what does He want me to share with you next? And so this was the next piece, and I'm going to explain to you why He had me share this in a second. Hey, Kim, tell us where you're joining from. Welcome, welcome. So, master the marketplace. We're going to talk in the next, this is a 10-part series. Yes, it's 10. You'll understand why in a minute. But it's really your business as God intended. That's the purpose and conversation we're having in this series. So as you're coming in, by the way, y'all share. If you're on LinkedIn or Facebook, there's a button somewhere in there where you can share with your tribe. YouTube, you have to share and text people. Aldi, Virginia in the house, right? So, with that said, let me tell you why and kind of give you an overview of the conversation we're going to have in this series. Okay, so if you've been a client of mine, you know that I always talk about the systems you need to have a profitable business. There are 4 systems that you need, and no, that's not a typo. Tribe building is on there twice on purpose. Any business owners, whether you're just starting out or you've been in business for years, then you know that tribe building is the most important because if people don't know you exist, who's buying from you? Hello. Who's gonna be your client? Who's gonna come and get your services? So if you need a purpose system, a back-end system, a sales system, and then tribe building. I don't call it marketing, I call it tribe building because you want to build a tribe ready to buy. Anyway, I'm not going to get into that whole conversation. But here is the conversation I'm going to have with you that most people do not talk about. They don't talk about the atmosphere that happens around this these pieces of your business. Yes, you need all 4 systems at play, but there's things that are happening in your atmosphere that are even working toward those systems or against those systems. That's the conversation we're going to have in this series. So, to make sure you understand what I mean, y'all know me. Oh, we're gonna focus on atmosphere. I forgot I had this slide. So listen, y'all know me well enough to know that those of you that are here, and if it's your first time, say, "Hey, Nicole, it's my first time." But I always look up words. I'm really good and big on looking up definitions, right? So atmosphere means a surrounding influence or environment. A surrounding influence or environment. Have you not realized that your business, that your brilliance, that your even your mindset sits in an environment that influences how you think, how you live, how you have your being? All those things are affected by your environment. So, in our series, in our 10 weeks, I want to encourage you to take some time to look at where in each of our conversations are you stuck? Do you need support? Where are you that your atmosphere needs a little shifting, needs a little up leveling, needs a little change, needs some summer cleaning, not spring because we're in the summer now, right? So, again, I just said that. So, to be successful, you got to master the marketplace. To master the marketplace, you need what I'm going to call the 10 commandments of doing business the way God intended. That's why it's 10 parts. The 10 commandments. Now, I'm making up these commandments, right? But think about what the 10 commandments were. Now, those of you that are familiar with the story of Moses in the Bible and God led him up and gave him these 10 ways, and really commandments are a general rule intended to regulate behavior or thought. A general rule intended to regulate behavior or thought. So if you're going to do business the way God intended, you've got to have some general rules that regulate your behavior or your thought. Come on, somebody, right? So that you can do the thing that you do the way God intended for you to do it. Listen, I wonder if you really realize that God intends for you to profit. I said this a couple series ago, but there's certain things you've got to shift in your atmosphere to make sure that you are profitable. And some of you, the reason your business isn't working, you may have all the systems that you need at play, but something in your atmosphere needs to shift. Mhm. So here's our first commandment that we're going to drill in on for part one. And as I say this first one, don't think you already have this on lock. I'm going to tell you the number of entrepreneurs that I meet that think they have this down and they don't. Mhm. So the first commandment is you must say yes to your calling. And yes, all of us are called. Listen, if you look up the definition for ministry, and I should have done this, and I always talk about this, the third definition in Webster's dictionary doesn't say pulpit or doesn't say reverend or minister. It says to serve a group of people. And I wonder if you realize that God gave you a gift because it's meant to serve a group of people. So your gift, your brilliance, the thing you're doing is needed and necessary. So it's not about how much money you make. Yes, God wants you to make money too, but that's not what you're saying yes to. Your callings are attached to a group of people that need you. Hey, Regina, y'all get that? So, commandment number one is you've got to say yes to your calling. So, I'm going to give you three things that you've got to do so you can say yes to it. Three things in these areas you might need to shift, y'all. And again, whether you've been in business or you're just starting out, listen, can I tell you the number of successful women that I meet that want to start a business? And the three things I'm going to walk you through are the three things that are always present, always. Usually it's all three. Especially if you already got a six-figure paycheck, if you already got a corner office, if you already had a big daytime job, and now you want to go and take your brilliance and start a business, these three things begin to come at you. And I've got to say this. Many of you have had businesses stirring in you for years. Some of you have started and you're stuck in the same place. If you're stuck, one of these three things are in your atmosphere. Mhm. So I need you to have a real conversation with yourself. If these sessions are gonna be worth your listen, if these sessions are gonna help you, it's because you have a real conversation with yourself, and I'm always gonna give you tools to shift, but you gotta be willing to do the work, y'all, okay? I say this to my clients all the time. Regina knows this, Carol knows this. Listen, if I could go to the gym and tell my trainer that I wanna look like J-Lo, and then I sit down and just drink water while she's working out, perfect time for a sip of water. I wish I could do that. I wish I could sit on my little seat and say, "Girl, I need you to do some more, crunches because my stomach needs to get flat." I need you to do a couple more planks because my stomach needs to get flat. It doesn't work like that. Wish it did. So you got to be willing to do the work. All right. So let's look at where you are as we talk about commandment number one this week. You must say yes to your calling. Okay. So the first thing you got to look at is you must move forward in the face of fear. You must move forward in the face of fear. People say to be fearless. You're not going to be fearless. You're going to be fearful. See, your faith doesn't get activated until you're in the face of fear. So, how are you going to activate your faith if fear is not present? See, God hasn't given us a spirit of fear, right? But power, love, and a sound mind. It's a Bible verse, by the way. God hasn't given us a spirit of fear, but He doesn't say that fear isn't present. So, when God is asking you to do something bigger than what you've ever done, something totally different, it's going to be scary. It's going to be scary, right? So, I'm going to give you some examples of some people that had to say yes in the face of fear. People like Abraham. Now, y'all, I should have written the Bible verses down. I believe his story starts around Genesis 12th chapter. Hey, Demi, Abraham had to say yes in the face of fear. He had to leave everything he knew. Mhm. Another person had to say yes in the face of fear is David. First of all, David, who was a shepherd boy, gets crowned as a king. And he goes right back into the field to go shepherd the sheep. He didn't go sit on the throne. And then right after that, what happens? He hears about this Goliath giant. He fights Goliath not soon thereafter that. You think he wasn't scared? And the army wouldn't fight him, and the Navy wouldn't fight him, and the Marines wouldn't fight him. Nobody would fight Goliath. But David said, I'll fight him. He was 12, by the way. What were you doing at 12? Hello. How about Esther? One of my favorite people in the Bible. One of my favorite people in the Bible, Queen Esther, who was crowned queen and should have never been a queen because she was a Jew. Go read it. She had a whole book called Esther. And then when the time came, she stood in the gap for her people. Her people were going to be put to death. And she could have died too because the king didn't even know she was a Jew. She had to do what she did in the face of fear. Ruth, listen, Ruth, when Ruth's husband and her father-in-law died, and Naomi said, "Go ahead and go back to be with your people, girl. You want to stay here with me." Ruth stayed and said, "No, I'm going to stay here with you." I love it. Carol says she's studying. They're studying. My clients are studying Esther with me. They are. You're right. So listen, Ruth, another of my favorite girls. She didn't do what was convenient. She did what she knew she should do and stay with her mother-in-law. And even when she stayed with her mother-in-law said, "Go work for that man over there." She didn't know that that man was going to say yes. She didn't know that that man was going to accept her. She also, the things that she had her do, and I'm not going to do a whole Bible study on Ruth right now. I will at some point. All the things that her mother-in-law told her to do were scary, but she was obedient in the face of fear. Joseph, hello. I can go on and on. Noah, I can do more than that. Listen, even Noah, did you guys realize that Noah was a farmer? When God said build an ark, he wasn't a carpenter. So, what did all of these people do that made the difference? What did all of these people do? The first thing they did is they understood their why. So you got to be clear on your why. Why are you doing what you do? Why are you wanting to start a business? Again, it's got to be more than just about money. See, when you get clear about your why, so if I go back to the list we just looked at, what was Abraham's why? God said to him, "I'm going to make your name great. You're going to be the father of many nations." David, his wife for Goliath. Now he had a couple things he went through, but just let's talk about his fight with Goliath. He saved his whole nation. Esther saved her whole nation. Ruth, with her yes to her mother-in-law, actually became wealthy and they were able to live. Hello, Joseph became second in command. Noah, his whole family was spared because he was obedient in the face of fear. So you've got to understand your why. Why are you doing what you do? Now, here's the thing that's so interesting, y'all. I'm about to step on somebody's toes. This is Revelations 3:15 through 16. I know your works, that you are neither cold nor hot. I could wish you were cold or hot. So then, because you are lukewarm and neither cold nor hot, I will vomit you out of my mouth. Now, this is John talking to a group of people that are going back and forth. Listen, many of you say one day, "Oh, I want to start a business," and then you say you don't. Then you start a business and then you don't. Or you do a little bit and it gets too hard, so then you're out. It's like jumping double dutch. Can you that's how that's a movement I'm making? How many guys have ever jumped double dutch? Y'all remember that back in the day? Do you know there's never a good time to jump in double dutch? Never a good time. But many of you guys are hot one day and then Luke and then cold the next day. How many of you order a coffee and you say, "I don't want it hot, I want it lukewarm, please. I would like some hot tea. Oh, but make it lukewarm. I want a really cold, ice cold bottle of water." Some of y'all like room temperature, so that doesn't work. But you get what I'm saying. Right? I really want you to get this. He says, "I will vomit you out of my mouth." In other words, when you drink something that you thought was supposed to be hot, you're like, you spit it out like this ain't even hot. And many of you are neither cold nor hot. You can't make up your mind. You playing double dutch with your purpose. Come on, somebody. Mhm. See, what you've got to do is stop second guessing God. And what you do here, when you understand your why and you get clear and you stop going back and forth, "Well, I know I'm meant to do this, but it's too hard," or "I know I'm meant to do this, but I'm away from my kids to graduate from high school." Stop it. Stop being cold or hot. Be one or the other. And then when you get clear on your why, then the next thing you got to do is ask for direction. What many times, and my GPS is my favorite thing. I don't know what I did before my GPS, y'all, but my mother always asked me for directions. I'm like, "Girl, I put it in my GPS. Now I'm about to give you your GPS." Hmm. Ultimately, God is our GPS. But what do you need to ask God? What do you need to type in your GPS so you can get where you're going? See, what Noah did was he asked God for direction. What Esther did, she asked God for direction. I can go on and on. If you go read these stories in the Bible, you will see that the greatest people in the Bible ask for direction. Or even Joseph. Now, they never said that. I can't remember in Joseph's story if it ever says that he prayed to God. But what's interesting is when he sat silent, you think he wasn't talking to God and meditating and getting clear? I love that Esther said, "Fast and pray for 3 days. You and all your people fast with me." There's so many times in the Bible that what they're doing is seeking direction and insight and activation that only God can give. So let me walk you through the 3 steps, okay? Now, before I do that, I'm gonna read a story. I'm gonna use now this is one of my favorite stories. So those of you that are with me that week after week, you know I love this story. This story is called Elijah and the Widow's Oil. Elijah and the Widow's Oil. Okay, that's prayer I can see because I'm a woman of a certain age now. Okay, so this is 2 Kings 4 1 through 7. It was too much and too small to put it on this slide. Okay, I'm gonna read it fast and then I'm gonna break it down for you. Okay, and certain women of the wives of the sons of the prophets cried out to Elisha, saying, your servant, my husband, is dead, and you know that your servant feared the Lord. And the creditor is coming to take my 2 sons to be his slave. So, by the way, back then, if you owe money, the creditors took your kids. Hello. Okay. So Elisha said to her, what shall I do for you? Tell me, what do you have in the house? And she said, your maid servant has nothing in the house but a jar of oil. Then he said, go, borrow vessels from everywhere, from all your neighbors, empty vessels. Do not gather just a few. And when you have come in, you shall shut the door behind you and your sons. Then pour it into all of those vessels and set aside the full ones. So she went from him and shut the door behind her and her sons, who brought the vessels to her, and she poured it out. Now it came to pass when the vessels were full that she said to her son, bring me another vessel. And her son said to her, there is not another vessel. So the oil ceased. Then she came and told the man of God, talking about Elisha, and he said, go sell the oil and pay your debt, and you and your sons live on the rest. In other words, she made enough to live the rest of her life. Now, I want you to get a couple things because I'm really walking you through that story, walks you through the GPS I'm getting ready to tell you you need. Number one, let go of how. Many times we're trying to figure out how, and when you're doing something you've never done, then how do you know what to do? I love that this woman was coachable. She said, listen, because she went to her coach. She said, listen, Elisha, I need help. Tell me what to do. The other thing that's interesting here is she was overlooking her brilliance. I closed my Bible, and I gotta find it again. She was overlooking her brilliance, right? So she asked for direction, but at the same time, when he said, tell me what you have, because many of you already have everything you need, but you don't know what to do with what you already have. That's the problem. Okay. So he says, tell me, what do you have in the house? And she said, your maid servant has nothing in the house but a jar of oil. But see, she would have never known how to take that jar and do what she did if she didn't get coached. And many of you, you are one strategy away, which takes you to P. You need to plan the strategy. So you need to let go of how, that you don't have to have every answer. And the way that you think it's going to happen is not going to happen that way. So you got to let go of how you think it's supposed to be and how you think it's supposed to look and how much money you think you're supposed to make and how many this and how many that and et cetera, or that you feel like you're too old. How many of y'all are there? Then you need the P of the GPS. You've got to plan the strategy. And if you don't know how to do it, then you need a coach that's going to help you do that. And what did her coach do? He said to her, then he said, go borrow vessels from everywhere. All your neighbors, empty vessels. And what did she do? So she went from him, oh, excuse me. And when you have come in, you shall shut the door behind you and your sons, then pour it into all the vessels. So she did that. So not only did he give her strategy, but she went and did the thing, right? And I said this right, start with what you have. Many of us don't realize that we have so much. Many of us don't realize we have so much. And so many of us have purpose that is like a dead baby inside of us because it was time to birth it a long time ago. I said it. The last thing you want to be is dead, going to meet God for the first time. And he says, what happened? You didn't do it. Your excuses will not work. Not when you get to go meet God. So you got to let go. Let go of how, let go of what you think you should do and the way you think you should do it. You need a plan. You need the strategy to get it, which most of you, that means you need to hire a coach, right? I know me in this new perimenopausal body, I had to go hire a new trainer because my old trainer wasn't working because I needed new strategy. And then you're going to start with what you have, right? Now, here's the third one. After you get your GPS, then guess what you got to do? Just do it. You got to be willing to take the leap. You got to be willing to risk it all to gain it all. There will be times that you don't even know that it's going to work, but you've got to be willing to go and do it. And you've heard this Bible verse, faith without works is dead, right? But here's other piece that I was thinking about when I was thinking of just do it. By the way, just do it is Nike. So, when I was first going through coaching school, and my coaching, my coach that was coaching me through coaching school asked me what my theme was, and I told her my theme was a Nike swoosh. It was just do it. Because I always remind myself to just do it, to stop trying to figure out all the pieces and trust God in the middle of it. The GPS I gave you is the very GPS I made in the middle of coaching school. It is. And when I think about this, it makes me think of this. Do you guys remember The Color Purple when Suge Avery and this is the first movie, by the way, and CD are walking through a field of these beautiful purple flowers, and Suge says, "I think it pisses God off when you walk by the color purple in a field and don't notice it." Well, I equally think it pisses God off when you walk past your purpose inside of you that's been there and you don't notice it, you don't activate it, you don't do the work to move it forward. You make all the excuses as to why you can't, as to why now is not your time, as to why, and God is like, yeah, I'm sick of you being lukewarm. I'm gonna sit that right there. So here's the thing you've got to do when you find yourself in this place. Okay, so I gave you GPS to just do what you got to do. Three P's. The three P's to just doing it. You ready for your three P's? You've got to perform. This is the act. The thing that I love when I watch performers, and I'm a TV and film major, so I love acting, I love plays, I love movies, I love all things theater and TV and film. The best actors study their craft. So they don't just get on stage and act, and some of them are natural actors, I get that, but many of them study. So if you're gonna perform at a level that you've never been at before, you've got to study your craft, study your gift, master your gift. In Malcolm Gladwell's book, Outliers, he talks about 10,000 hours being the golden rule of success. The next P is pursue. You've got to be willing to be aggressive, get in the seat and drive. There's nothing like being in New York and getting in a taxi cab, right? And those of you who've been in New York or any major city that has crazy traffic and taxis are driving, but I've not been in one like New York. Boston can be like that too, but New York is worse. DC can be like that too, but New York is worse. That taxi driver is by any means necessary going to get you to that destination. They are pursuing it. If they got to go around people, they got to honk, all the stuff is because they're pursuing their goal no matter what. The thing I love about going back to Elisha in this widow story, right, is you got to be determined. You got to persist. He said to her, "Go and shut the door," in case I lost it again. I have my fan going, so it keeps blowing. He says to her, so she went from him. Oh, sorry. This is verse number 4. And when you have come in, you shall shut the door behind you and your sons. You know why he told her that? Because the number of people that are trying to talk you out of it, tell you that you're crazy. I'm sure Noah, all kind of people were telling Noah when he was building the ark that he was crazy. I'm sure Mary, Jesus's mom, when she told people she was pregnant, oh, but you ain't had sex. Okay, Mary. I'm sure David, when he said, "Oh, I'll fight Goliath," people were like, "Are you crazy?" You got to persist. You've got to stop talking to everybody else about it. Because listen, when God gives you a gift, it's nobody else's gift to push out but yours. Like when you're pregnant, can't nobody push that baby out but you. I don't care. My best friend was having her baby and I was in the room with her and she was kicking up her legs and I was like, "Ooh, girl, this is a lot." I couldn't push for her. I didn't want to be in the room with her, if I'm gonna be honest. So you've got to persist, you've got to perform and really take the time to study your craft so you can go out and you can go all the way in on it. You've got to pursue. You've got to be willing to go after that goal no matter what. Determined. Nothing can stop you. Right? What just came in my head is all the way up, right? Nothing can stop me anyway. You got to be determined. Persist. So again, we're looking at your why. Understanding your why, understanding that you are called. The first commandment is you must say yes to your calling. To do that, what are the three things, y'all? You must move forward in the face of fear. You've got to understand your why, and then you've got to just do it. Now, we're going to dig deeper into the series. Again, we're talking about the atmosphere that surrounds you and why your business hasn't started or why your business isn't successful. Now, I'm going to tell you, this ain't nothing yet. I had to start here because this is where so many people are at that starting. And many of you, and when it's time to scale, that's the same thing happening again. I need to get you out of the lukewarm. Jump all the way into the hot or jump all the way in the cold, but stop being lukewarm. Make the choice. Will you say yes to your calling? If you're going to do the thing God crafted and created you to do, you've got to say yes to it and you've got to go for it no matter what. All right. So, with that said, y'all, that's it for week one. I look forward to hearing your comments, your thoughts here. Write them up, write them up. If you got any value, tell me the one thing that you got valuable out of this conversation. And then number three, I'm always going to ask you to share, not because I'm trying to grow my following, but here is the reason I ask you to share week after week is this is my calling. And the more people that I get to touch, you get to help me expand my calling. So with that said, y'all, have a phenomenal rest of your Monday. I'll be back next Monday with part two, or commandment number two, I should say. As we continue to talk about master the marketplace so that you can do your business the exact way God intended. Bye, y'all.